It's 6:45 a.m. I've hit snooze for the third time, but I know I have to get up. I can't afford to miss another day of work, not with the bills piling up, each one more urgent than the last. I drag myself out of bed, groggy and exhausted, knowing that another day is ahead of me where I'll be fighting just to stay afloat. But I don't have the luxury of being tired right now. I have to keep moving. I'm 27. I've been out of college for a few years now, but it feels like I'm still stuck in that in-between phase where things aren't really coming together. I thought that by now, I'd have figured out how to balance my career, my finances, and my life. Instead, I feel like I'm constantly playing catch-up, never quite getting ahead. The truth is, I'm drowning in a system that's designed to make sure people like me never catch a break. I don't have a lot of complaints about my job itself. It's not my dream job, but it pays the bills, barely. It's an office job, 9 to 5, and I'm lucky to have it, considering how many people are still struggling to find work in the economy right now. But the reality is, even though I'm working full-time, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Every month is a battle to cover my rent, utilities, groceries, and the unrelenting weight of my student loan payments. My income doesn't go nearly as far as it used to, and it feels like I'm constantly being hit with unexpected expenses. Take today, for example. I opened my bank app this morning, and as expected, there's nothing left after the bills have been paid. In fact, there's less than nothing, my account's in the red again. I keep getting hit with overdraft fees because I keep forgetting that automatic subscriptions charge on days I haven't accounted for. It's so draining to have to constantly check and recheck everything, knowing I don't have enough to cover what I've already planned for. I hate the feeling of checking my bank balance and feeling sick to my stomach. It's like a reminder that no matter how hard I work, I'm not getting anywhere. When I got my first paycheck out of college, I was excited, hopeful. I had visions of paying off my credit card debt and maybe even saving a little. I thought I could start building my life. But that dream quickly evaporated when I saw how much the rent in my area was, how much the cost of everything was. Housing is a nightmare. I can't even imagine the kind of salary I would need to live somewhere that feels like a home. Instead, I've been bouncing around apartments I can barely afford. Every time my lease is up, the rent goes up. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a revolving door of temporary solutions that leave me no time or money to focus on the things that matter. I'm 27, and I should be starting to figure out how to save, how to invest, how to plan for a future that's more than just getting by. But how can I do that when my expenses keep rising faster than my income? I've tried budgeting, I've tried cutting back on the few little luxuries I still let myself enjoy, like the occasional takeout or a coffee shop visit, but it never seems to be enough. The weight of it all has a constant presence in the back of my mind. It's hard to focus on anything else when I'm constantly calculating whether I can afford to buy groceries this week, or whether I'll have enough to make it to the end of the month without taking on more debt. The emotional toll of this is enormous. It's not just about money, it's about the way it makes me feel. Some days, I feel like I'm doing everything right, working hard, trying to be responsible, trying to stay positive, and still, it feels like I'm barely holding on. There's this constant feeling of failure that creeps in, and it's suffocating. I see my friends posting pictures from vacations, buying houses, starting families, and I can't even imagine how they're doing it. Maybe they have help, maybe they have better paying jobs, maybe they've just figured out how to navigate this system better than I have. But it's hard not to feel left behind when everyone around me seems to be moving forward. I used to have dreams. I used to think I would have a nice place of my own, that I'd travel, that I'd do all the things that make life feel rich and full. But those dreams are starting to fade. Every day I'm reminded that the future I imagined for myself feels so far out of reach. I wanted to go to graduate school, but I can't afford the tuition. I wanted to start a business, but how can I take that risk when I'm barely getting by? I dreamed of being financially independent, of not having to worry about the next paycheck, but now it feels like I'm trapped in a cycle that I can't escape from. I've had to make so many sacrifices. I haven't gone on a real vacation in years. I haven't bought clothes in so long that my wardrobe feels like it's straight out of the 90s. I've stopped thinking about saving for a house because I don't think I'll ever have enough for a down payment. I try not to think about these things, but they creep into my mind when I'm lying awake at night, wondering how much longer I can keep doing this. And then there's the loneliness of it all. It's hard to explain, but sometimes I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. Everyone's moving forward with their lives, while I'm just stuck, spinning my wheels, watching the world go by. It's hard to talk about this stuff with anyone because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to complain. But I'm tired. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when it's not. There are moments when I feel like I'm losing hope. I don't know how much longer I can keep pushing myself this hard without breaking. I try to tell myself that I'll be okay, that eventually I'll get through this, but I don't know if I believe it. It's hard to keep going when everything feels like an uphill battle, and the mountain only seems to get steeper. I just want to breathe. I want to feel like I'm making progress, like I'm building something. I don't want to feel trapped in this cycle of surviving, not living. I don't know what the future holds, but all I can do is keep going, keep working, and keep hoping that someday, somehow, things will get better. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. It's funny, really, how much pressure a dollar can carry. I used to think money was just a tool, something you work for, something you spend to live. But now, it's become a constant weight in my chest, always there, always pulling. I can't remember when it started, this tightness, but I know it's only grown with time. I wake up every morning to the same cold reality: the rent is due, the bills are climbing, the food in the fridge is running low, and somehow, I still don't feel any closer to a future where I can breathe. There's no relief. No chance to sit back and relax. There's just the grind, the constant hustle to keep up. I'm 25, but sometimes I feel like I'm already too old for this. I feel like I'm living in a race I wasn't prepared for, a race where every step forward feels like 3 steps back. The economy, it's like a storm that keeps getting stronger. Prices go up every month, and it's never just one thing. First, it was gas. Then food. Then rent. Utilities. Internet. Phone bills. Everything's climbing, and my paycheck? It stays the same. Sure, I've tried to get a second job or look for a side hustle, but every time I think I've found something that might work, it feels like the world shifts just enough to make it impossible. I don't think people realize how much this constant pressure can wear you down. It's like I'm running on a treadmill that never stops speeding up. At first, you think you can keep up. But then your legs start to ache, your breath gets shallow, and your mind, it starts to wander. You begin to question why you're running at all. Some days, I don't even want to get out of bed. The weight of it all is just so overwhelming. I stare at the ceiling for a long time, wondering what I'm doing wrong, wondering when it's going to get better. But it doesn't. Every month, I balance my checkbook, watch the numbers not add up, and pray that something, anything, will change. I've learned to cut corners. I've learned to pick the cheaper options, even when they don't feel like they're worth it. Like buying generic food brands because they're $1 cheaper. Or opting for the off-brand laundry detergent that smells like plastic instead of fresh linen. It doesn't feel good. But I've learned to tell myself that it's just temporary. I'll get through this. I tell myself that every time I feel that ache in my chest. But I don't know if it's really true anymore. I don't know how long I can keep pretending it's temporary when it feels like it's my permanent reality. Some nights, when I sit in my small apartment, alone in the dim light of my phone screen, scrolling through social media, I see other people living lives I can barely imagine. Vacations. New clothes. Dinner at nice restaurants. Friends hanging out at bars, laughing. I see them living, and it stings. They don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. They don't have to count their pennies every time they want to do something, anything, outside of their routine. It's not that I don't want those things too. I do. More than I can explain. I want to feel free. I want to go on a vacation. I want to buy a new pair of shoes when mine start to fall apart. I want to go out and eat without checking the menu for the cheapest thing. But all those things, all those little joys that everyone else takes for granted, they feel impossible for me. There's this voice in my head that keeps whispering that I'll never get there. That I'll never make it to that place where I can just relax, breathe, and feel safe. The idea of owning a house feels laughable. I can't even imagine having enough money to put into a savings account. And yet, every morning, I wake up and go through the motions. I get dressed, I make a cup of coffee that's a little too weak because I can't afford to buy more coffee beans, and I head out to work. The job is fine. It's steady, at least. But it's not enough. It's never enough. The pay is low, and the benefits? Almost non-existent. I'm constantly thinking about ways to get ahead, to climb the ladder, but every time I try, the rung slips out from under me. There are always new barriers, more people with more experience, or the companies finding ways to cut costs and make even the simplest of raises seem impossible. My friends tell me that I'm doing okay, that things will get better. They don't understand. They don't see how hard it is, how much effort it takes just to stay afloat. Maybe they've had a little bit more luck. Maybe they come from families that can help them when things get tough, or maybe they just caught a break. But for me, it feels like every step is just me pushing against the current. And then there's the emotional toll. The exhaustion. The constant stress that I carry in my shoulders, my neck, my jaw. The tightness that never quite lets up, even when I'm lying in bed at night. I don't talk about it much, because honestly, what's the point? No one can fix it. No one can make it go away. I've learned to live with it, to manage it. I keep my feelings in check, bury them beneath tasks and distractions, because if I let myself really feel the weight of it, I don't know if I could get out of bed at all. I've started to avoid big life decisions because they all feel like risks. Like choosing between paying for my car insurance or saving enough for next month's rent. Or deciding if I can afford to fix my broken phone screen or if I can wait until it stops working altogether. It feels like a game of chance. Every decision is an exercise in balancing what matters most and what I can afford, and in the end, I'm always just scrambling to keep up. There are dreams I've had to put on hold, too. Dreams that feel further and further out of reach the longer I struggle to keep everything together. I wanted to go back to school, to get a degree that might help me get a better job. But it's impossible right now. Between work and trying to make ends meet, there's no time or energy for studying. I wanted to travel, see the world, experience something bigger than this small apartment and the never-ending cycle of bills. But I can't even afford a weekend getaway, let alone a plane ticket to another country. Sometimes, I let myself think about the future, what I want, what I could have if I just had the chance. But even when I let myself dream, the thoughts feel heavy, like they're sinking into quicksand. I don't know how to make them come true. I don't know if I ever will. I want to be hopeful. I want to believe that one day, things will get better. But some days, it feels like the dream of a better life is slipping further and further out of reach. And I don't know how much longer I can keep going like this. But I keep going anyway. Because what else is there to do? It's hard to explain the kind of exhaustion that comes from trying to make ends meet when the ends seem to keep getting farther apart. It's a kind of quiet, grinding pressure that sits in your chest every day, like a rock that doesn't ever go away. I'm 24, and it feels like I'm already drowning in a sea of bills I can't pay, dreams I can't afford, and a future that seems less and less attainable the longer I try to make sense of it all. Most days, I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing with reminders and notifications, a bill due here, a loan payment there, a friend's birthday dinner invitation that I can't afford. It's like my phone's doing its best to remind me of everything I don't have, everything I can't manage. It would be easier to ignore it all, but that's impossible when your bank account's drained to almost nothing before you've even made it halfway through the month. It's the constant math that gets to me, the everyday calculations of whether I can afford gas to get to work, if I'll have enough left over for groceries, or if this week will be the one where I have to skip the electricity bill just to cover the rent. The numbers never add up. They never will. I know that, but I can't seem to stop trying. Sometimes I tell myself that I'm doing all the right things, I'm working full-time, picking up shifts where I can, cutting back on everything. But every time I think I'm getting ahead, life throws another curveball. Like when my car broke down last month. That was fun, spent my rent money on repairs just to be able to get to work. And the thing is, it doesn't even feel like this is temporary. Sure, I tell myself that it'll get better eventually, that there's some grand opportunity waiting for me, but deep down, I know it's a lie. The cost of living keeps going up, the wages stay stagnant, and everyone's just scrambling to stay afloat. It feels like I'm on a treadmill, and no matter how fast I run, I can't escape the weight of everything pressing down on me. And I can't even get ahead, because the rent in my building just went up again. It's like every time I take a step forward, I get pushed 2 steps back. I remember when I first started thinking about my future, when I was younger, it all seemed so simple. My dreams were big, expansive. I wanted to be someone who traveled the world, who had a career I was passionate about, who owned a house and didn't have to worry about where the next paycheck was coming from. But now? Now, I'm just trying to survive. There's no room for those dreams anymore. The idea of having a career I love feels so far out of reach it's almost laughable. I can barely hold on to my current job, let alone make any kind of move forward. I try to be okay with it, really. I tell myself that I'm strong, that I'm making it work. But sometimes, it feels like there's no air to breathe. I get these moments, usually in the middle of the night, when everything is quiet and I can't sleep, that I just feel so overwhelmed. It's like the weight of everything hits all at once, the fear that my life is just going to stay this way forever, the guilt that I'm not doing enough, the anxiety that I'll never get out from under it all. I get up, sit at the kitchen table with my coffee, stare at the bills in front of me, and wonder if I'll be stuck in this cycle for the rest of my life. I know it's not rational to think like that, but sometimes it feels impossible not to. The hardest part? The hardest part is that I can't even imagine what the future might look like if things change. If I were to actually get ahead, what would I do with that freedom? What's it like to be able to buy something without having to ask yourself if it's worth the cost, to save up for something that isn't just a necessary expense, but a real investment in your future? These days, it feels like I'm always in survival mode. I don't have the luxury of thinking about things like vacations, or starting a savings account, or even the idea of going back to school to better my career. All that's on my mind is what I need to do today to keep going tomorrow. It's also hard to talk about, because it feels like admitting it makes it more real. When people ask how I'm doing, I usually say, good, or okay, even though I feel like I'm about to break down. It's hard to admit that I'm struggling, because I know that everyone else is too. I know I'm not the only one dealing with this pressure, but sometimes it feels like it. It's like I'm living in a world where everyone's moving forward, and I'm stuck, watching the world pass me by. And then there's the guilt. The guilt of not being able to help my family more, of not being able to do the things I said I would do when I was younger. My parents always tried their best to give me everything they could, but I can't help but feel like I'm failing them, too. I want to be able to send them something for their anniversary or help pay for my sister's college tuition, but I can't even afford a dinner out with friends without wondering how I'll make it through the next few days. I've learned to cope with it in little ways. I tell myself that tomorrow will be better, that if I keep working, things will eventually work out. But that's starting to feel like a broken record. I cope by distracting myself, binge-watching TV shows, scrolling endlessly through social media, avoiding the things I need to do just so I can breathe for a few hours. Sometimes, I let myself dream for just a moment, imagining what it would be like to have enough money to quit this job and work for myself, to buy a home that doesn't feel like a never-ending drain on my energy and money. But it's hard to hold on to that dream when reality feels so crushing. I guess the thing that hurts the most is realizing that these dreams, the ones I used to hold on to so tightly, are slipping away. I thought I'd have time, but it feels like I'm running out of it. Every time I try to save, every time I get close to having a little extra to do something nice for myself, the rug is pulled out from under me. The repairs, the medical bills, the rent hikes. It's like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to keep me struggling. I used to think that by this point in my life, I'd have it figured out. But now, I just hope that one day I'll have enough. Enough to breathe, enough to feel like I'm not drowning in this endless cycle. Until then, I'll keep doing what I can to get by, taking one day at a time, coping however I can, and hoping that maybe, just maybe, things will turn around. But there's a part of me that wonders if they ever will. And it's a scary thing to think, but sometimes it feels like the dream of a better life is just that, a dream. I never imagined that adulthood would feel like a slow, constant suffocation. No one really prepares you for the weight of money, more like the lack of it, sits on your chest, day after day. It's like you wake up already owing something to the world, and by the time your head hits the pillow again, you've barely chipped away at it. I'm 26. I have a degree, a job, and still, most days I feel like I'm treading water in boots made of debt. I work full-time as a project coordinator at a small marketing firm in the city. It's the kind of job that looks decent on paper, with just enough shine to make my parents feel like I made it. But when I break down the numbers, it's all smoke. After taxes, rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, student loans, and the random crisis that always seems to pop up, I'm lucky if I have $60 left in my checking account at the end of the month. Rent went up again last month. That was the third increase in 2 years. I thought about moving, but where would I go? Everything else is either more expensive or unsafe, or too far from work. The idea of commuting 2 hours just to save a couple $100 makes my chest tighten. It's not just the money, it's the time. That's something I've started to feel I can't afford either. Every decision I make now starts with the same question: can I afford this? Not just in money, but in energy, risk, and time. A friend invites me out to dinner. Do I have the budget for it this week? My mom wants to do a family trip. Can I take the time off and still pay my bills? My shoes have holes in them, but they're not completely falling apart yet, so maybe next month. Maybe. I used to dream of traveling. Not in a quit my job and live in Bali kind of way, but just to see places. Italy, Greece, maybe Japan. I wanted to take photos, taste food I couldn't pronounce, stumble through conversations with strangers in broken language and wide smiles. I thought I'd do all that by now. But every time I try to save, something breaks. A car repair, a medical bill, inflation chipping away at my grocery budget. Saving feels like a fantasy for people who aren't constantly just trying to survive. The worst part is how it all starts to affect how you see yourself. I used to be ambitious, really. In college, I thought I'd change things, make something of myself. Now, I find myself measuring success in such small, pitiful increments. Like, hey, I didn't overdraft this week, or I finally paid off one credit card. Wins, sure, but it's hard to feel proud when the finish line keeps moving. It's hard not to feel like I did something wrong, even though I know, logically, I didn't. The economy is different. Wages are flat. Everything costs more. But knowing that doesn't make it feel any less personal. I cope in small ways. Some days I cook just to feel like I have control over one thing. Even if it's just rice and eggs, it feels like a small act of rebellion against this system. I journal sometimes. I've filled 3 notebooks in the last year with rants, lists, fears. Writing gives shape to the fog in my head. Other times, I just scroll endlessly, numbing myself with people's vacation photos and lives I can't afford to imagine for myself anymore. I tried therapy for a bit. My work offers a few free sessions through an EAP program. It helped, but once the free ones were up, I couldn't justify the ongoing cost. Self-care becomes another luxury you can't afford when you're poor. So I walk instead. At night, mostly. Less people. More quiet. I walk and think about a version of me that isn't always calculating how much things cost. I've postponed a lot of things. I haven't started saving for retirement, laughable, honestly. I keep saying I'll go back for my master's degree, but the idea of more debt makes me nauseous. I've also put off dating seriously. I mean, how do you build a life with someone when you can barely hold your own up? I think about kids sometimes, not now, not even soon, but I wonder if I'll ever feel secure enough to bring someone else into this world, into this pressure. Still, some part of me clings to hope, stubbornly. I hold on to it in the quiet moments, the mornings when the sun hits my apartment just right, when the coffee tastes perfect, when I laugh so hard with a friend I forget I'm broke. I dream in small bursts now. Maybe I'll freelance on the side and start saving slowly. Maybe I'll move in with a roommate again, cut costs. Maybe next year, I'll finally go somewhere, even if it's just a road trip. What I want most is just a little breathing room. A month where I'm not panicked. A future that isn't a tightrope walk. To feel like the work I do matters and is enough. I want a world where people like me aren't punished for playing by the rules and still coming up short. I want to stop surviving and start living. Until then, I keep showing up. Every morning, I wake up and try again. Because even if the system is broken, I still believe I deserve more. And maybe, just maybe, that belief is enough to keep me going. Some days I wake up and the first thought in my mind is money, not in a greedy, ambitious way, but in the gut-tightening, breath-shortening kind of way. Like I'm already behind before I even swing my legs out of bed. I'm 27. I work full-time at a marketing firm in the city. It's not glamorous, but it's stable, or at least, it used to feel that way. I make just enough to cover my rent for this small studio apartment, utilities, groceries, my student loan payments, and the dozen little things that somehow always add up to too much. Every paycheck feels like a brief inhale before I'm underwater again. When I was younger, I thought being an adult meant independence, freedom to go where I wanted, do what I loved, build something meaningful. Now, it feels more like managing a slow leak in a sinking boat. I spend more energy patching holes than steering toward anywhere in particular. Rent's gone up twice in the last year. Not by a lot each time, but enough that it chipped away at what I used to set aside for savings. I stopped contributing to my retirement account. Then I paused my student loan payments during the forbearance period, but now they're back, and the interest is cruel. I make my payments, but my balance somehow grows. It feels like trying to run down an escalator that's moving up faster than I can move down. I've started saying no to a lot of things. Dinner out with friends. Weekend trips. The gym membership. I do home workouts now, which sounds admirable, but honestly, it's just another way of saying, I can't afford $40 a month to feel less anxious. Even going to a cafe to read feels indulgent. I brew my own coffee now, and sit on a squeaky folding chair in the corner of my apartment, pretending it feels the same. I haven't told my parents how hard it's been lately. They're supportive, but they have their own worries. My dad just had to pick up part-time work after retiring early because of health issues. My mom watches my nephew 3 days a week so my sister can hold down 2 jobs. We're all doing what we can. Survival mode is a family trait. I think the hardest part is how it messes with your sense of self. I went to college. I did internships. I got decent grades. I followed the script. And I don't expect to be rich, I never did, but I thought I'd at least be okay. That I'd be able to breathe. That I'd be able to plan. Instead, everything is reactive. Every day is triage. I check my bank account before I buy groceries. I compare prices obsessively. I delay dental appointments. I tell myself the dull ache in my molar can wait until next month. Then the next month. Then the next. I've wanted to go back to school for a master's degree, something more creative, maybe design or user experience, but it feels irresponsible. I can't imagine adding more debt, and I can't afford to work less to study more. Dreams don't die all at once, they erode. You shelf them with the hope you'll return someday, but the shelf keeps getting higher. Dating is weird, too. It's not that I don't want connection, I crave it. But it's hard to feel lovable when you're constantly stressed about money. I can't be spontaneous. I can't offer to split expensive dates or travel together. I can't even pretend I'm not budgeting every move. It's hard to be romantic when you're calculating how much gas you can afford for the week. I journal a lot. That's one of my main ways of coping. I write down what I'm grateful for, my health, my friends, the quiet mornings when the sun hits the kitchen counter just right. I also write down what scares me, like the possibility that this is it. That I'll be stuck in this loop forever, working hard, staying afloat, never really moving forward. I don't say that out loud often. People don't want to hear about hopelessness. They want resilience. They want the climb. Some nights, when the city noise dies down and I'm lying in bed with the fan humming, I let myself imagine what I'd do if things changed. If I didn't have to think about rent or debt or groceries or the electricity bill. I'd travel. I'd write more. I'd volunteer. I'd paint again. I'd wake up and feel excited instead of tense. And I wouldn't hoard my time and energy like scarce resources. I'd share more of myself with the people I love. Until then, I keep going. I cut coupons. I make lentil soup that lasts 4 days. I side hustle when I can, some freelance writing gigs, selling old clothes online. I do what I have to. And I try not to let it harden me. I try to remember that I'm not lazy or weak. I'm not a failure. I'm just living in a system that demands too much from people who have too little. Sometimes I catch myself dreaming still. Not about being rich, but about being free. About waking up and not immediately thinking about money. That would be enough. I never thought I'd be 27 and still living with 3 roommates in a 2-bedroom apartment where the walls are thin enough that I can hear Mark snoring from the living room. He sleeps on the couch because he's trying to save for dental surgery. We rotate the good couch cushions so nobody's back gives out completely. When I was younger, I believed that if you worked hard and did everything right, things would sort themselves out. I went to college. I got the degree. I work full-time in digital marketing, not glamorous, but it's a job. Still, every time I check my bank account, I feel like someone's slowly pulling a rug out from under me. Rent's gone up $150 in the last year. Groceries, gas, even my antidepressants, all creeping higher. Meanwhile, my salary? Same as it was 2 years ago. I asked about a raise in January and my manager said, the company's tightening the budget right now. I've stopped going to therapy. I can't afford it. My copay was $50 per session and that's now a luxury I can't justify. Instead, I write in my journal and try to manage the spiral on my own. I've become good at knowing when a panic attack is creeping in, that tightening in the chest, the buzzing in my limbs. I've learned to sit with it, breathe through it. I chew gum like it's medicine. Every day is a series of calculations. Can I afford to get groceries this week or should I wait till next Tuesday's paycheck? If I skip this month's credit card payment, can I stretch what's left of my balance to cover bills? It's a constant shuffle, robbing Peter to pay Paul. I'm not even living paycheck to paycheck anymore. It's more like surviving paycheck to 5 days before paycheck. I used to have dreams. Big ones. I wanted to travel, Japan, Iceland, Greece. I have Pinterest boards full of landscapes I've never seen in person. I thought by now I'd have savings, maybe be thinking about buying a little condo, something small with sunlight and space for plants. But I don't even have a savings account anymore. I closed it after overdrafting 3 times in 1 month. My bank charges me $35 every time my balance goes negative, which just feels like punishment for being poor. Even fun is expensive. My friends still go out sometimes, concerts, birthdays, bar nights, and I always feel like the killjoy when I say I can't make it. I make excuses. Oh, I've got an early morning, or I'm laying low this weekend. The truth is I just can't drop $40 on drinks and an Uber home. I feel like I'm slowly drifting away from people. Not because I don't love them, but because I can't afford to participate in their lives the way I used to. I've become a master of pretending. Smiling through tight jaws. Saying I'm fine when I'm not. I envy people who still have help from their parents. Not in a bitter way, I just wish I had that kind of safety net. My mom works 2 part-time jobs just to stay afloat. Asking her for help would just make her feel guilty. So I keep quiet. I spend a lot of time online, doom scrolling, mostly. The news is always bad: inflation, layoffs, climate disasters. Everything feels like it's teetering. I try not to let it break me, but sometimes I lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, wondering how the hell we're supposed to survive this. How are any of us supposed to build a future when we're stuck trying to survive the present? I've started freelancing on the side. Writing copy for websites, managing social media for a couple of local businesses. It brings in maybe $300 extra a month. Some months, that's the only reason I make rent. But it means I'm always working. I wake up, go to my day job, log off, eat something fast, then work until midnight. I haven't had a real day off in months. I'm tired. Like, bone-deep tired. But the thought of stopping, of not doing everything I possibly can to stay above water, terrifies me more than burnout. And yet, somewhere in all this mess, I still have hope. It's a small, stubborn thing, like a weed growing through concrete. I dream of a life where I can take a weekend trip without guilt. Where I can afford fresh fruit without calculating the cost per ounce. Where I can breathe without the weight of constant anxiety pressing down on my ribs. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what it would be like to own a little bookstore cafe. I'd serve coffee and pastries, maybe host open mics or readings. It's a silly dream, but I can see it so clearly in my mind: the wooden shelves, the smell of books and espresso, the sound of quiet music playing in the background. I don't know if I'll ever get there. But that vision gives me something to hold on to when the days get hard. I guess the hardest part of all this is knowing I'm not alone, and yet it still feels so isolating. So many of us are stuck in this grind, this system that demands everything and gives back so little. We're told to work harder, budget better, stop complaining. But I'm already giving it everything I have. We all are. I'm just trying to survive in a world where it feels like survival is the most anyone can hope for. But maybe, just maybe, there's more out there. Maybe we'll find a way to make it better. Maybe we'll figure it out, together. Until then, I keep going. One day at a time. I'm not even sure when it started, this feeling like I'm running on a treadmill someone keeps speeding up. I guess it wasn't all at once. It crept in slowly. At first, it was just a few skipped takeouts, an Uber declined in favor of the bus, a postponed dentist appointment. Little things. But now, it's like every decision I make is filtered through a calculator. A calculator and this knot in my stomach that won't go away. I'm 28. I have a college degree. I did what they told me to do, worked hard, graduated, took out loans, investing in my future. I thought I'd be further along by now. Maybe renting a small apartment without roommates. Maybe finally trading in my 2010 Honda Civic that wheezes every time I ask it to go uphill. Maybe even saving for a future. A house. Kids. Something like that. Instead, here I am. Living in a 2-bedroom with 3 roommates. Sharing a bathroom. Splitting the rent like we're still an undergrad. My student loans take a giant bite out of my paycheck every month, and even though I've been paying on time for 6 years, the balance feels like it hasn't budged. I make $48,000 a year working at a nonprofit, which isn't terrible, but it's not keeping up. Groceries cost more. Gas costs more. Health insurance takes more. Everything keeps rising, except my income. Most mornings I wake up and check my bank app like I'm looking at a wound I can't stop picking at. The numbers don't lie. I'm careful, but there's never quite enough. There's this game I play at the end of each month: juggling what can be paid now versus what has to wait. The credit card minimum gets paid. The car insurance does, too. But maybe the phone bill is a few days late. Again. I've gotten used to that sinking feeling when I see a notification from my bank, or worse, an unexpected charge I forgot was coming. I've stopped going out much. Drinks with friends used to be my way of unwinding. Now I make excuses. Busy with work, I'll say, when really I'm just tired of pretending I can afford a night out. Even a casual dinner feels like a splurge. I calculate every tip before I sit down. I order the cheapest item on the menu and pray no one wants to split the bill evenly. It's not just money. It's the mental weight of it. This pressure doesn't leave me when I clock out. It rides home with me. It eats dinner with me. It follows me into bed and sits on my chest at 2 a.m., whispering all the things I haven't figured out yet. I feel like I'm always one emergency away from everything falling apart. A flat tire. A medical bill. A missed paycheck. I don't have a safety net. I am the net. And I'm stretched too thin. Sometimes I think about who I wanted to be when I was younger. I used to dream of writing a novel, traveling, maybe starting my own creative business. I wanted to be someone whose life felt like it had texture, rich, full, intentional. Now I just want stability. I want to be able to go to the doctor without flinching at the copay. I want to buy groceries without adding things up in my head the whole time. I want to breathe. Coping, for me, looks like routines. I find comfort in the things I can control. I walk in the mornings before work, even if it's just 15 minutes around the block. I make coffee at home. I meal prep on Sundays. These small rituals give me a sense of agency, a feeling that I'm trying. That I haven't given up. I journal sometimes. I write down the things I'm grateful for, even if they're small: my roommate's laugh, the sunlight on my desk, the fact that my car still runs. But there are days when the weight is too much. When I look around and wonder how everyone else is doing it. Instagram makes it worse. Everyone seems to be thriving, traveling, getting promoted, buying houses. I know it's curated. I know I shouldn't compare. But it's hard not to feel like I've failed at something essential. Like I missed a memo that everyone else got. What hurts most is the feeling of being stuck. Of watching time pass while the dreams stay on hold. I haven't been home to see my family in over a year, flights are too expensive. I had to turn down a friend's wedding because I couldn't afford the travel and the gift. I haven't taken a real vacation in 4 years. The idea of saving for one feels laughable. My dreams feel like postcards from another life. And yet, despite it all, I keep going. Because I have to. Because there's still a part of me that believes maybe, somehow, things will change. That I'll get a better paying job. That the loans will get forgiven. That the economy will shift. That I'll catch my breath. But hope, too, costs energy. And some days, I don't have much left. This isn't the life I imagined. But it's the one I'm living. And I'm trying, every day, to make peace with that. I used to think adulthood would feel like freedom. When I was a teenager, I imagined it as this wide-open space where I'd finally be able to do things my way, travel, create, make my own schedule, not have to answer to anyone. But now, at 28, it feels more like walking a tightrope made of credit card statements and grocery receipts, with no safety net beneath me. I live in a one-bedroom apartment that used to feel like a step up. Now it's more like a box I pay to keep my stuff in. Rent jumped again this year, 8%, even though my raise was a generous 3%. I laughed when I got the email from HR about the raise. Not because it was funny, but because what else was I supposed to do? Cry in the break room again? Most mornings, I wake up with this knot in my stomach. It's not fear exactly, it's heavier than that. Like this dull weight that follows me around from the moment I open my eyes. I used to start my days with music or a podcast, but lately I can't stand the noise. It's like my brain doesn't have space for anything beyond calculating whether I can afford to buy eggs and toilet paper this week. I work in digital marketing. It sounds cooler than it is. Most of my day is spent tweaking ad copy and fighting with the Facebook algorithm. It's a job, and I'm lucky to have it, I know that. But it feels like I'm doing everything right and still slipping backward. My student loans are still there, looming like unpaid rent on my future. I'd been on an income-based repayment plan for years, which basically means I pay just enough each month to stop them from chasing me, but not enough to make the number go down. There's this constant background hum in my life now, like a low-grade static of not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough sleep. I've gotten good at saying no. No to eating out. No to trips. No to weddings that require a plane ticket. No to hobbies that cost more than $20 to get started. I even said no to therapy, which I know I need, but the copay is half a week's groceries. Some nights I lie awake wondering how other people are doing it. The ones with new cars, or who go out for brunch every weekend. I try to tell myself they're probably in debt, too. Or maybe they've got help, parents, a partner, a trust fund. It helps, sometimes, to believe that I'm not the only one quietly panicking behind a curated Instagram feed. I've become strategic in weird ways. I know which grocery stores mark down produce on which days. I only fill up my gas tank halfway because it feels like less of a blow than spending $70 at once. I perfected the art of the no-spend weekend, which basically means staying home, eating rice and frozen veggies, and pretending I'm recharging when really I'm just rationing. The hardest part is the mental math that never stops. Every decision comes with calculations. If I skip lunch today, can I afford a haircut this month? If I pick up a freelance project, will I burn out before I finish the week? If I splurge on a friend's birthday gift, will I be okay if the car needs a repair? I've had to let go of so many dreams. I wanted to write a book. I still do, but by the time I'm done working and trying to keep myself fed and sane, my brain is mush. I wanted to live in a city where art and community mattered more than rent prices, but those cities are for people with cushions to fall back on. I wanted to adopt a dog. I don't even have time to keep a houseplant alive. People say to keep grinding, that it'll pay off eventually. But I've been grinding for a decade and I'm still one emergency away from financial ruin. One layoff, one health scare, one family crisis, and the whole fragile structure would collapse. Still, I keep going. Not because I'm hopeful exactly, but because there's no other option. I get out of bed. I go to work. I smile. I try to be grateful for the little things, a friend covering my coffee, finding $1 in my coat pocket, a sunset that makes my walk home feel like a movie for just a second. Sometimes I let myself imagine a different life. One where I'm not afraid to check my bank account. Where I can say yes to a weekend trip without worrying if I'll make rent. Where I can take a break without guilt. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but I carry that dream with me. It's like a tiny ember in my chest. Not enough to keep me warm, but enough to keep me moving. So yeah, adulthood doesn't feel like freedom. Not yet. But maybe one day it could. If the world changes, or I get lucky, or both. Until then, I'll keep finding ways to live in the cracks, between paychecks, between breakdowns, between what I hoped for and what I've got. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I used to think adulthood would feel different. Like one day I'd just step into it, confident and steady, maybe tired sometimes, but proud, with enough money to go out on Fridays without guilt, maybe even take a trip once a year, and slowly but surely move forward in life. Instead, most days feel like I'm treading water in clothes too heavy to swim in. I'm 27, college-educated, working full-time, and somehow still one minor emergency away from total financial collapse. That's not how I thought it'd go. I did what everyone said I should do, got a degree, applied for jobs relentlessly, stayed out of trouble, learned how to write a solid cover letter, tailored my resume for every position. But the only jobs I could land after school were either underpaid or part-time, and the rent waits for no one. I work in marketing now, not glamorous, but it's something, and yet even with a full-time role and a few freelance gigs on the side, I can't catch up. Every month is a tightrope walk. Rent eats nearly half my income. Student loans dig in right after. Groceries, phone, utilities, they don't care if I had to cover a surprise dentist visit or help my mom with her prescriptions last week. Everything adds up so fast, and wages just don't keep up. I don't think people realize how mentally exhausting it is to do math every time you want a coffee. Or to weigh whether skipping lunch out means you can maybe afford to buy someone a birthday gift. My friends joke about being broke millennials, but underneath the laughter there's tension. We're not just broke, we're stuck. The worst part? It's not like I'm bad with money. I've read the budgeting blogs. I use the apps. I coupon. I pick up side gigs, survey sites, even sold clothes online. I've canceled subscriptions, delayed doctor's visits, and learned how to make a bag of rice stretch a week. But when inflation keeps pushing up costs and rent climbs every year while my paycheck barely budges, being smart with money starts to feel like a cruel joke. I live with 2 roommates even though I crave privacy. I take the bus everywhere, not because I'm saving the planet, though I tell myself that, but because a car is a luxury I simply can't touch. I turn down wedding invites in other states, skip baby showers, and haven't seen my out-of-town relatives in over 3 years. Every decision has to pass the test. Can I afford this without screwing myself next week? Most of the time, the answer is no. The pressure is quiet, constant. It's in the background of every decision, like static you can't turn off. I lie awake some nights doing mental math, wondering if I missed a payment, if I can put off getting new shoes another month, if I'm a failure because I'm nearing 30 and still live like a college student. Sometimes it hits me at the grocery store when I put back a pint of ice cream because I promised myself I'd keep the bill under $45. Or when I tell my friend I'm just tired when really I can't afford the movie ticket. The worst is how it chips away at your dreams. I used to want to go back to school for a master's. Now I laugh at that idea. I wanted to travel. I still scroll through photos of Iceland and Japan like a teenager with a crush. I wanted to start a small business, something creative and meaningful, maybe open a bookstore cafe. But even thinking about that now feels naive. It's hard to believe in big dreams when small things feel so impossible. Like buying a new coat when winter hits. Like not feeling panic every time my carless body passes a hospital and I remember I don't have the best insurance. Still, I cope. You kind of have to. I walk a lot, it helps clear my head. I write in a journal, or talk to my sister on the phone when I need to vent without judgment. She gets it, she's in the same boat, just on a different shore. I've found small joys that don't cost much. Borrowed library books, second-hand clothes, window shopping, long walks with music. I cook at home, not because it's trendy, but because it's necessary, and sometimes it's comforting, like I'm still in control of something. Some days I let myself hope. I read about movements for rent control, for better wages, about people fighting for student loan relief. Maybe things will shift. Maybe one day, it won't feel like I'm holding my breath all the time. I postponed dreams, not buried them. They're still there, dusty, a little bruised, but breathing. I still want to see the world. I still want to create something that matters. I want a home of my own, space to breathe, a dog maybe. I want to know what it feels like to relax without guilt. But for now, I keep going. I get up every day and do the work. I answer emails, submit invoices, eat leftovers, call the landlord, pray the internet bill doesn't sneak up on me. I laugh with friends even when the weight in my chest doesn't lift. I make plans with hope and cancel them with disappointment. And every night, I try to believe there's a version of this life that doesn't feel like drowning. I don't need to be rich. I don't even need to be comfortable all the time. I just want enough space to breathe. Enough time to dream. And a future that feels like something I get to build, not just survive. I don't remember the last time I felt truly at ease. Not the kind of "I've had a long day so now I'll watch Netflix" kind of ease, but a deep, steady, almost boring kind of security, the kind I imagine my parents had when they were my age. I'm 27 now, and every day feels like walking a tightrope made of bills, side hustles, and anxiety. I live in a small apartment in a neighborhood that used to be considered up and coming but now just feels like it's on the verge of pricing me out. My rent went up again this year, $175 more per month, and when I asked my landlord about it, he shrugged and said, "It's the market." The market. That invisible monster that seems to control every aspect of my life, while I'm left trying to survive its mood swings. I work full-time as a project coordinator for a mid-sized tech company. It's a decent job on paper, benefits, paid time off, and a salary that's just enough to cover my basic expenses. But basic has expanded so much that it doesn't really feel basic anymore. Rent eats up nearly half my paycheck. Groceries have become a strategic mission. I compare prices between apps, look for discounts, and sometimes just skip lunch if I know I'll be eating dinner late. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year, and when my laptop broke last month, I had to put the repair on a credit card I'm already struggling to pay off. I used to have dreams, bigger ones. I wanted to start my own creative studio. I wanted to travel, to see Japan in the spring or walk through the lavender fields in France. I thought I'd have time for that, but now it feels like I can't even afford to dream. I'm too tired. Too consumed by trying to stay afloat. There's this constant, gnawing pressure in my chest. It doesn't go away. It's there when I wake up and check my bank balance, praying my direct deposit came through. It's there when I avoid texts from friends who want to go out, because I can't afford to spend $30 on drinks. It's even there when I do everything right, budgeting, saving a bit when I can, picking up freelance gigs on weekends, only to realize I'm still just treading water. Sometimes I feel like a failure, even though I know I'm not alone. Most of my friends are in the same boat. We talk about it sometimes, late at night, messaging each other after another layoff announcement or when rent spikes again. There's a dark camaraderie in our shared frustration. We joke about how our generation is soft-launched into adulthood, but there's grief under the humor, a mourning for the futures we were promised. My mom told me once that when she was my age, she and my dad bought their first house. A modest 2-bedroom, but still, a house. They had one income and a kid. And now? I know couples with dual incomes who can't even imagine affording a starter home. My parents don't say it outright, but I think they don't understand how different things are now. Just save a little more, they say, like it's that simple. As if saving can compete with inflation, stagnant wages, and a healthcare system that could bankrupt me with a single emergency. Speaking of health, I've had to ignore some things lately. Weird chest pains that come and go. A rash that hasn't cleared in weeks. I have insurance, but my deductible is so high I might as well not. Every time I think about seeing a doctor, I weigh the physical discomfort against the financial one, and most times, my wallet wins. Still, I find ways to cope. I journal, sometimes angry, sometimes hopeful entries. I go for long walks when the weather allows, just to clear my head and remember that there's more to life than screens and spreadsheets. I listen to podcasts about people who made it out of tough circumstances, hoping to find some roadmap. I talk to my partner, who's going through his own version of the same struggle. We dream together sometimes, late at night. It's easier with him. We talk about a small cabin somewhere in the mountains, with a garden and a dog. We know it's not realistic right now, but it keeps us going. Every now and then, I let myself imagine a different life, not one where I'm rich or wildly successful, just one where I can breathe. Where I don't panic every time I tap my debit card. Where I can plan a vacation a year in advance without worrying if I'll still have a job by then. A life where emergency doesn't mean financial ruin. I've had to delay so much. I wanted to go back to school for design, but I can't justify the cost. I postponed having kids indefinitely, partly because I want to give them more than I had, and right now, I can barely take care of myself. I don't know if that dream will ever become possible. What hurts the most is that I work hard. Really hard. I know so many people like me do. We're not lazy or entitled. We're exhausted. We were told that if we went to school, got degrees, worked diligently, we'd be okay. But the finish line keeps moving. The goalposts keep shifting. And no matter how fast we run, we're always behind. There are days when I want to give up, days when the hopelessness feels like a weight pressing down on my chest. But I don't. I keep going. I think that's something to be proud of, even if the world doesn't see it. Because maybe, just maybe, things will shift. Maybe something will change. Maybe we'll get to a point where survival isn't a full-time job. And until then, I'll keep dreaming in small ways. A new sketchpad. A weekend without work. A moment of laughter with people who get it. I don't know what the future holds. But I still want one. It's funny how you can be so aware of the numbers in your life and still feel lost. Every day, I wake up with the same thought: how do I make this work today? It's not even about grand dreams anymore, it's about surviving the next few hours without my anxiety overtaking my thoughts completely. I guess it started when I graduated from college. They handed me my diploma, and with it, they handed me the illusion that I was going to make it. They don't tell you that making it isn't the same for everyone. They don't tell you that for some, making it means being perpetually out of breath, running after bills that always seem to be one step ahead of you. I look at people on social media living their best lives, posting from coffee shops, traveling to places I've only seen in my dreams. And I can't help but feel like I've been left behind somehow. They say the economy is improving, that things are better than they used to be, but the gap between what I make and what I need to survive keeps growing. It's like I'm standing still, and the world is moving faster and faster. I'm working a full-time job now. I tell myself it's not the job I wanted, but it's the job I could get. That's the part no one tells you, either. You might go into a career with one plan in mind, but life doesn't always cooperate. The reality is, most of the opportunities available to me are just temporary positions or entry-level gigs with barely enough pay to cover rent, let alone anything else. But what's the alternative? Do I sit back and wait for some miracle that isn't coming? So, I keep grinding. Each month feels like a balancing act. The rent is due, the car payment is due, the student loan keeps growing, and every time I check my bank account, it's like the numbers are laughing at me. It's hard to explain to anyone what it feels like to know that no matter how hard you work, you can't seem to get ahead. Sometimes, I try to comfort myself by thinking that it's just temporary, that one day things will change. But I'm starting to wonder if one day is really just a fantasy. I've learned to budget, which feels more like a game than an actual solution. How many days can I make it without buying groceries again? Can I skip that subscription for a couple of months? Do I need to cut back on gas, or can I squeeze one more trip out of my half-full tank? I've learned how to stretch every dollar until it's practically begging for mercy. But no matter how creative I get, there are still days where I go to bed with an empty feeling, knowing that I've done everything I can and still somehow ended up behind. It's hard not to take that personally. I find myself thinking about the future less and less, and when I do, it's a kind of quiet terror that I push away as quickly as it comes. I used to dream about owning a house, maybe getting married one day, having kids. But now? I'm just trying to get by. It's hard to see a path forward when everything feels so out of reach. Sometimes, I close my eyes and picture a future where I'm still just scraping by, and I wonder if that's all I'll ever know. I think the hardest part isn't even the lack of money. It's the feeling of being trapped in a system that feels indifferent to your struggle. It's watching the cost of living go up every year while wages remain stagnant, like the world is constantly demanding more from you, and there's no reward for doing everything right. People around me say things like, just hustle harder, you'll get there, but that's the thing, they don't see the exhaustion in my eyes. They don't know what it's like to be working multiple jobs, just to make ends meet, while still watching bills pile up faster than you can pay them. They don't know how it feels to have your soul chipped away bit by bit, to feel like you're drowning in expectations that are impossible to meet. And then there's the guilt. Every time I tell myself I'll be okay, I can't help but feel guilty for being in this position in the first place. I don't even know who I'm apologizing to: society, my family, myself. My parents were always careful with money, teaching me the value of saving and being responsible. But this is a different kind of beast. The bills are relentless, and no matter how many times you try to get ahead, something unexpected always comes up. Your car breaks down, your insurance increases, or you find out that the paycheck you were waiting on got delayed. And when that happens, all of your careful planning goes out the window. I've had to make peace with the idea that my dreams might have to wait. I used to have big ambitions: go back to school, start my own business, travel, see the world. Now, I find myself just hoping that I'll have enough money for food this week, or that the next paycheck will cover everything. I wonder if I'll ever get to those things I thought were so important. The older I get, the more I feel like I'm not just putting off the fun stuff but also the things that would bring me a sense of purpose, the things that would make me feel alive. Sometimes I tell myself, one day, when I'm not struggling to survive, I'll go after those dreams, but I can feel that future slipping away with each passing year. And still, somehow, I keep going. I don't know if it's hope or stubbornness, but every morning, I get up and do it all over again. I try to find the silver lining, even when it feels like there isn't one. Maybe it's just about surviving for now, about getting through the day without letting the weight of everything crush me. Maybe one day, when the economy isn't so tight, when my wages catch up to my expenses, I'll be able to breathe a little easier. But until then, I'll keep hustling, keep balancing, keep hoping that the next paycheck will be the one that makes things just a little more bearable. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I won't give up. There's a part of me that still believes, somewhere deep down, that things will change. Maybe not in the way I thought, but in some way. Maybe my dreams won't happen the way I imagined, but maybe they'll still happen. Maybe one day, I'll look back on this time and see it as the hard part, the part that made me stronger. But for now, all I can do is keep going, one day at a time. That's what the struggle teaches you, I guess, that survival is its own kind of success. Even when it feels like the world is stacked against you, even when it feels like everything is slipping through your fingers, you just have to keep going. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. I wake up every morning with a knot in my stomach. Not from hunger, though that happens more often than I'd like to admit, but from the weight of another day where the math never adds up. My alarm rings at 6:30, and I lie there for a few minutes, staring at the ceiling of my tiny studio apartment, calculating which bills are due and how I might scrape together enough to cover at least the most urgent ones. Rent. Phone. Groceries. Credit card minimum. It's like trying to hold back the tide with my bare hands. I'm 28 years old. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and work full-time as a barista in a cafe downtown. I also take on freelance work when I can, editing resumes, doing data entry, pet sitting. It's not for extra spending money, it's to keep the lights on. My job pays me $17 an hour, and while that sounds decent, it's not enough in a city where rent for a modest apartment like mine is over $200. Add in utilities, student loan payments, insurance, and food, and I'm often left with less than nothing. Some weeks I avoid checking my bank account at all. It feels safer not knowing just how close I am to zero, or worse, how far into overdraft I've slid. I live in a constant state of tension, like a string pulled too tight, ready to snap. Every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. When my car battery died last winter, I cried in the parking lot. Not because I was stranded, but because I knew I couldn't afford a new one. I spent 3 weeks riding the bus 2 hours each way because I needed that $130 for groceries. Living this way rewires you. You start viewing everything through the lens of cost. I don't think about what I want, I think about what I can afford. Which, most days, is very little. I haven't bought new clothes in over a year. I shop for food based on the discount stickers and rarely buy meat. I skip social outings because even a $10 drink feels like a betrayal of my budget. I tell friends I'm just tired when really, I'm broke and embarrassed. Financial pressure doesn't just live in your wallet. It crawls into your mind, your heart. It changes the way you think about yourself. I used to be someone who saw potential everywhere: jobs, relationships, places to go, things to create. Now, I feel cornered. Like I'm stuck in a game where the rules are rigged against me. Inflation keeps rising, rent keeps climbing, and wages stay flat. I'm working harder than ever just to stand still. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning in slow motion. I used to dream of becoming a social worker. I wanted to work with youth in underprivileged communities, help them navigate the same challenges I faced growing up. But after college, the job offers came with salaries that didn't even cover basic living expenses. I had to choose survival over passion. That choice still hurts. I feel like I betrayed the younger version of myself, the one who believed in change, in service, in purpose. My mental health has suffered, too. I've struggled with anxiety since my teens, but it's worse now. It's the gnawing panic of not knowing if you can make it through the month. It's the shame of asking your landlord for a few extra days, again. It's the exhaustion of constantly calculating, adjusting, sacrificing. I tried therapy for a while, but even with sliding scale rates, it became unsustainable. Now I journal, take long walks, and talk to myself when it gets really bad. I cope because I have to. Because the alternative is falling apart. I see people on social media buying houses, traveling, having kids. Meanwhile, I have to debate whether I can afford a dentist appointment. I wonder if I'm doing something wrong, if I missed a turn somewhere. But I know I'm not alone. So many of my friends are quietly struggling, pretending they're okay while secretly wondering how they're going to pay for groceries. Sometimes I fantasize about stability. It's not even about wealth, I just want to breathe. I want to go 1 month without that tight feeling in my chest. I want to buy a coffee without guilt. I want to save for the future, even a little. Right now, that future feels abstract, almost imaginary. Still, I keep going. I work. I hustle. I clip coupons and say no to things I wish I could say yes to. I remind myself that surviving this system is not a failure, it's resilience. But it's hard not to feel like we deserve more. Like the promise we were given, that education and hard work would lead to a better life, was a lie. Maybe one day I'll go back to school, or start that nonprofit I dreamed about. Maybe I'll find a job that pays enough to live with dignity. Until then, I'll keep grinding. Because that's what this life demands. And even though I'm tired, I still believe, quietly, stubbornly, that things can get better. That one day, I'll look back on this chapter not with bitterness, but with pride that I endured it, and hope that the future I postponed will still be waiting for me. I used to think that working hard was enough. That if I just did all the right things, go to college, get a degree, land a job, I'd be okay. Maybe not rich, but stable. Safe. My parents always told me, you'll have it better than we did. They believed it. I believed it. But now, most mornings, I wake up already tired, already worried. And all I can think is, how the hell did it all end up like this? I'm 27. I work full-time in marketing for a mid-sized company in the city. It's not a bad job. I even kind of like it, on some days. But after taxes and student loan payments, rent, utilities, groceries, and gas, there's nothing left. Literally nothing. Some months, I'm putting things on my credit card and hoping a freelance gig comes through to cover it. Other months, I'm skipping meals or stretching groceries longer than I should. Once, I rationed toilet paper. That felt like a new low. I live in a tiny one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and a fridge that hums like it's dying. Rent went up again last year, by $150. My landlord blamed inflation and market rates. My boss gave me a 2% raise. The math doesn't work. It never does. It's this constant pressure that never lets up. Everything costs more than it used to, and it feels like I'm sprinting on a treadmill that someone keeps speeding up. Groceries? Eggs are a luxury now. I stopped buying fresh fruit. Coffee is strictly homemade. I haven't eaten out in months unless someone else offers to pay. And yet my bank account still teeters on the edge. I've set alarms for due dates. I've argued with customer service over $20 late fees. I've cried in my car over surprise medical bills. There's always something. I try to make it look like I'm okay. That's part of the pressure too, pretending. Social media is full of people my age traveling, buying homes, getting engaged. I know some of it's smoke and mirrors, but I still feel like I'm failing in comparison. I scroll through pictures of people in Italy while I sit on my futon eating instant noodles, wondering how I'll afford car maintenance or if I can stretch my shampoo another week. It's not just the money. It's what the money represents. Or what the lack of it steals from me. I used to dream of starting a small business, opening a community art space with a little coffee corner. I pictured light streaming in through big windows, people gathering, creating. That dream's on a dusty shelf now, right next to my travel bucket list and the idea of going back for a master's degree. I wanted to explore, to grow, to build something meaningful. Now I just want to not panic every time my phone buzzes with a bank notification. I didn't grow up rich, but we were okay. My parents worked hard. We had what we needed. So I thought I'd be okay too. I thought things were supposed to get better over time. But I look around and see so many of us struggling, juggling 2 or 3 jobs, moving back home, delaying having kids or buying homes, not because we want to, but because we can't afford to do otherwise. And the worst part? It's not that we're lazy or irresponsible. It's that the system feels rigged against us. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. Rent climbs faster than our paychecks. Health insurance barely covers anything, and mental health care? Forget it. I once looked up therapists and cried when I saw the session fees. $150 an hour. I make less than that in a day. So I cope the way a lot of us do, quietly, privately. I keep a spreadsheet of every dollar I spend. I sell clothes I don't wear anymore. I take surveys online for a few bucks. I've become a master at finding free entertainment, library books, free museum days, long walks with podcasts. I find comfort in small routines, making coffee exactly the way I like it, lighting a candle at night, texting my best friend memes that make us laugh even when we're both exhausted. But I'm tired. Not just physically, but soul tired. The kind that seeps into your bones and makes hope feel dangerous. Hope, after all, means imagining something better, and when better feels out of reach, hope starts to ache. Still, some days I let myself dream. I think about what I'd do if I had just a little breathing room. I'd take a vacation. Not even far, just somewhere quiet, with trees. I'd sleep in. I'd read books without guilt. I'd maybe even adopt a dog. I think I'd be a really good dog parent. I think I'd be good at a lot of things, actually, if I weren't so weighed down all the time. I try not to resent the people who seem to have it easier, but it's hard. Sometimes I hear coworkers talking about their parents helping with rent, or paying off their student loans, and I feel this sharp twist in my chest. I don't blame them. But I wish I had that kind of safety net too. Instead, I walk a tightrope every day. One unexpected expense away from a crisis. One medical emergency from disaster. It's a scary place to live from. And no one prepared me for how lonely it would feel. Still, I keep going. Because what else can I do? Giving up isn't really an option. And maybe that's a kind of hope too, the act of surviving, day after day, even when it feels like the system is designed to break us. So yeah, I work hard. But it's not enough. And I wish more people would talk about that honestly. Not just in think pieces or campaign speeches, but in real conversations, with each other. Because it's not just me. I know that now. I see it in the tired eyes of the barista who remembers my name. I hear it in my friend's voice when she jokes about moving to another country but sounds half serious. I feel it in the way we all light up when someone finally says, "Hey, I'm struggling too," and we realize, we're not alone. Maybe that's where real change starts. Not in policy, though God knows we need it, but in truth. In saying, out loud, this isn't working. We deserve better. And in daring, even now, to imagine something more. I wake up in the dim light of the early morning, the kind of light that feels like it's just waiting for the world to start spinning again. The clock on my phone reads 6:30 a.m. My alarm will go off in another 10 minutes, but I don't need it to. I'm already awake, already thinking about the day ahead, the bills, the rent, the groceries, the loan payments. I roll over and stare at the ceiling. I could lie there for hours, but I have to get up. That's what I do every day. Get up. Get dressed. Make sure I look presentable enough for work, even though my boss probably won't notice. It doesn't matter, really. Not anymore. The only thing that matters now is getting through another day without sinking too deep into my thoughts. I've spent the last few years learning how to survive, not live. That's the difference. You can survive on less. But living? That takes more. It takes freedom, a kind of space you can't find in a life where every dollar is accounted for and every minute of your day is planned down to the last second. I grab the same old cereal I always eat, something cheap, something quick, and sit at the small kitchen table. I'm trying to be mindful, trying to not let the pressure build up too fast, but it's always there. The numbers swirl in my head. How much is in the bank? Will it be enough to get through the month? I haven't been able to afford a haircut in 3 months. Or new shoes. The ones I'm wearing are scuffed beyond recognition, but I can't justify spending money on things like that when there are bills I haven't even paid yet. I check my phone, like I always do, even though I know it won't make me feel any better. I open my banking app and stare at the balance. It's low. Too low. I'll need to stretch it out for at least 2 weeks. Rent is coming up in a few days, and I don't even have enough to cover that. My credit card's maxed out. I don't know how to ask for help anymore. At work, I get asked to stay late again. The overtime would be great, except I know it won't be enough to make any real difference. It'll cover an extra meal here and there, but it won't make up for the years of feeling like I'm drowning. Like I'm doing everything right, working hard, being responsible, but it's still not enough. It's like being in a race you can't win, even though you're running as fast as you can. When I finally get home, I collapse onto the couch. There's a silence in the apartment, one I've come to know intimately. The silence of a place that feels both too small and too empty. I can't even enjoy my time off anymore. All I can think about is the money I don't have. It creeps in like a shadow, waiting to consume every moment. I close my eyes and try to remember what it felt like to have dreams, real dreams, not just the kind you tell yourself to keep going. When I was younger, I used to want to travel. I wanted to see the world, take a break from the daily grind. But now? Now I'm just trying to make it through the month. I used to think about moving to a new city, starting fresh. But the idea of uprooting my life when I'm struggling just to keep it together feels impossible. I think about how far away my dreams feel now, how much more unattainable they are. And I hate it. I hate that every choice I make now is shaped by the economy, by a system that keeps growing more expensive while my paycheck barely ticks upward. It's like being stuck in a cage that you can't see, but you can feel it around you, pressing in on all sides. I wonder what it would feel like to wake up one day and not have to worry. To not calculate every cent, to not stress over how I'm going to make ends meet. But that's a fantasy. The truth is, I'm trapped in a system where expenses grow faster than my income. Everything costs more: gas, rent, food, insurance. It's never ending. And no matter how much I work, no matter how much I save, it never feels like it's enough. Sometimes I wonder if it ever will be. I cope by convincing myself it's temporary, that things will get better. I tell myself I just need to keep pushing. Just keep going. Maybe next year things will be different. Maybe next year I'll have enough saved up for a vacation, or maybe I'll finally get a raise. Maybe. But I know deep down that I'm just holding on to hope in the same way I hold on to the steering wheel when I drive through rain-soaked streets. It feels like control, but it's really just the illusion of it. In conversations with my friends, we all say the same things: it'll get better soon. Things will change. But we all know the truth. Things are only going to get harder. We're all living in a world that's increasingly built for people with money, and the rest of us are just scrambling to stay afloat. And yet, we keep going. We keep working, keep saving, keep hoping. It's like we're all stuck in a waiting room, hoping that someone will come in and call our name, that we'll finally get to step out of this endless loop. But no one calls. No one comes. I remember a few years ago, when I was still in school, I had all these plans. I wanted to write, to create, to contribute something meaningful to the world. Now, I write only when I can find the time, usually at night when I should be sleeping. I used to dream of being a published author. Now, it's more of a far-off goal, something I'll get to one day when I can afford the time and space to make it happen. The reality is that I'm too busy just surviving to do much else. Sometimes, that thought makes me feel like a failure, like I've wasted so much time just trying to make ends meet instead of doing something with the potential I have. But the pressure is real. The anxiety of knowing that I'm barely getting by, that the ground is constantly shifting beneath me, it's enough to wear anyone down. I try to take comfort in the small moments. A good book, a warm meal, the rare evening out with friends. They're small escapes, but sometimes they're all I have. And for now, that has to be enough. Because I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to change things, and I don't know if I ever will. But I keep going anyway. Because what else is there? Tomorrow, I'll wake up again, make the same breakfast, get dressed, go to work, and maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll make it through the day without getting swallowed whole by the weight of it all. Maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way out. But for now, I'm just surviving. And sometimes, surviving is all you can do. I wake up to the sound of my alarm, but it's more of a groan than a start to the day. I roll over and squint at my phone, the screen flashing 7 a.m. I'm late. Always late. But I don't rush to get out of bed like I used to. There's no energy for that anymore. Instead, I pull the covers back over my head for a moment, just trying to find a space where I can be still, even if only for a minute. It's a small moment of resistance to the world that keeps asking for more than I can give. When I finally get up, it's the same routine: coffee, a quick scan of the bank app, and the rush of anxiety that follows. I know what's coming. The numbers are always tighter than I want them to be. Rent's due in 5 days. The utilities, my student loan, the credit card bill, they all wait for their turn to steal what little I have. I've been careful, I really have. I've cut out everything that doesn't feel like a necessity, but the world doesn't care. Prices keep climbing, and my paycheck keeps staying the same. I head out the door, walking to the bus stop like I do every morning, trying not to think about the stack of bills waiting for me when I get back. The bus is always crowded, and I feel the weight of everyone else's struggles pressing in around me. People are all hustling, looking down at their phones, pretending like they're not stuck in the same loop. I'm no different. I'm just trying to get through the day without feeling like I'm falling apart. By the time I get to work, the tightness in my chest is already there. It's like a constant companion, just a little worse in the mornings. It's not like I hate my job, I don't, actually. It's just that it doesn't feel like it's ever enough. I bust my ass, put in the hours, try to stay focused and sharp, but it never seems to move the needle. The job doesn't pay enough to let me breathe. The people I work with are great, but they're in the same boat as me. We joke about it, laugh it off like it's no big deal, but deep down, we're all just holding on. By lunchtime, I'm already calculating how much I can spend on food, what I can avoid buying. A salad? Nah, it's too much. I can't afford the extra $5 today. I'll grab a sandwich, but it's always that shitty deli one, the one that's a little too dry and a little too small. There's no joy in it. Even eating feels like a financial transaction, like I'm having to justify every bite. It's funny how quickly something as simple as food can feel like a luxury. The worst part is the guilt. The guilt that hits every time I buy something that isn't a bill or a necessity. Even the small things, like a coffee or a snack from the vending machine, make me feel like I'm failing. I try not to think about it too much, but it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind, telling me I'm not doing enough. That I'm not working hard enough, that I'm wasting money, that I'm not being responsible. But if I don't buy the coffee, I won't be able to stay awake during the afternoon meeting. If I don't get the snack, I'll be starving and distracted. So I buy it, and then I hate myself for it. When the day ends and I get back home, I feel like I'm collapsing into a pile of exhaustion and regret. The apartment is small, too small, but it's all I can afford. The rent's already a stretch, and every month I wonder if I'll be able to make it. I try to keep things neat, but it's hard to stay motivated when everything feels like it's just hanging by a thread. The couch is sagging, the fridge barely holds enough food for the week, and there's always that one stack of unopened bills on the table, silently accusing me. Some days, I find myself scrolling through job listings, searching for anything that might pay better. But every time I look, I'm reminded of the same thing: everything out there seems to require more experience, more skills, more hours than I have to give. I wonder if I'll ever get out of this cycle. I wonder if there's a way to break free from the weight of everything pushing me down. But then I close the laptop and remember that I can't afford the luxury of hope. Not right now. I've had to postpone so many things. There were dreams I had when I was younger, things I wanted to do, places I wanted to see, goals I wanted to reach. They all feel so distant now. I used to think that if I just worked hard enough, I could get to where I wanted to be. That one day, I'd have the freedom to live how I wanted, without constantly stressing over every cent. But now, I'm not sure that's ever going to happen. I've stopped making big plans for the future. They just feel like pipe dreams that are out of my reach. Instead, I focus on today. Can I make it through today without panicking about my bills? Can I get through today without feeling like I'm failing? I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. But that voice in my head, the one that always tells me I'm not enough, it's hard to ignore. I cope in small ways. I find little moments of relief when I can. There's the walk through the park after work, the few minutes spent sitting on a bench, just breathing. It's not much, but it helps clear my head. Or the weekends when I get to visit my family, just for a little while. I try to hold on to those moments, because they're the only things that make life feel like it's worth something. But even then, the pressure is always there, lurking in the background. I've had to let go of a lot of things. I've given up on taking that trip to Europe I always wanted. I've stopped dreaming about buying a house one day, or owning anything that isn't falling apart. Those things feel like luxuries that other people get to have, not me. I've had to accept that. I've had to lower my expectations, shrink my world until it's manageable. But even that is getting harder. Some nights, when I lie in bed, I think about what the future might look like. I wonder if things will ever change. If I'll ever make enough money to not feel like I'm drowning. If I'll ever get to a place where I don't feel like I'm constantly running behind. Maybe it's naive, but I still hope for a future where I can finally relax, where I can afford to breathe again. But for now, I keep moving forward. One foot in front of the other. I don't know what else to do. Some days, I feel like I'm doing everything I can to stay afloat, and other days, I wonder how much longer I can keep this up. But I try not to think about it too much. I try to focus on today, because that's all I have. And even if it feels like I'm trapped in a system that doesn't care about me, I haven't given up. Not yet. I just have to keep going. Just keep going, even when it feels like I'm running on empty. Because what else can I do? I wake up to the sound of my alarm, groggy and disoriented. It's been like this for months now, waking up before the sun, trying to collect myself enough to face the day. I pull myself out of bed, trying to ignore the familiar weight pressing down on my chest. It's not physical, but it's there, every day, the constant pressure of knowing that no matter how hard I work, it feels like I'm just sinking deeper into something I can't escape. The morning routine is the same. Brush my teeth, quickly check my phone, email, messages, social media. The usual. I scan through a few notifications before my eyes land on the one I hate to see, an alert from my bank. A reminder that my rent is due in just a few days. The rent that I've been able to cover so far by juggling bills and cutting back on anything I don't absolutely need, but even that feels like a tightrope walk. I didn't even have the money for last month's rent until the day before it was due. And even then, I had to borrow from a friend. I try not to think about it, but it's hard not to. The rent isn't the only thing. Utilities, student loans, credit card payments, groceries, gas, everything's just growing more expensive. Every single month, I watch as prices climb faster than my paycheck. I got a raise last year, but it barely touched the gaps between what I earn and what I need to survive. I'm stuck, and it feels like the walls are closing in around me. I try not to let it show. I put on the mask, go to work, and pretend everything's fine. I work at a job that I know won't lead anywhere long term, but it's the best I've got for now. The company's doing well, but that success doesn't trickle down to me. My manager talks about all the opportunities available, but they feel hollow. I've been here for almost 3 years, and I've seen people leave, while others get promoted into positions that require connections or experience I just don't have. And no one really talks about how the cost of living in this city is skyrocketing. It's almost as if they expect me to just figure it out. Sometimes I wonder if it's my fault. Should I have chosen a different career path? Did I make a mistake in going to college? The debt I'm carrying is crushing. Student loans that I'll be paying off until I'm in my 50s, credit cards that never seem to get paid off in full, and now, the growing cost of living that no one warned me about. I don't think anyone really talks about how hard it is to balance all of that while trying to live a life. The thing is, I'm not alone in this. Everyone around me is in the same boat. But that doesn't make it feel any easier. Every time I hang out with friends, it's always about trying to figure out how we can make our money stretch a little further. I know I'm not the only one who feels like I'm falling behind. I see it in the way people avoid talking about money openly. We're all just trying to stay afloat. I try to tell myself that I'm doing my best, that everyone's struggling to some degree, but it doesn't take away the knot in my stomach when I realize I can't make it through another month without borrowing or asking for help. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about what my future could look like. What I want it to look like. I've always dreamed of owning a house one day, of traveling the world, of having enough financial freedom to take a day off without worrying about whether I'll be able to pay my rent. But I can't see any of that happening. Not anytime soon. Sometimes I just daydream about being able to go to a coffee shop without checking my balance beforehand. I dream of having money left over at the end of the month, of being able to save for something, a vacation, a future, a life outside of just surviving. But then I wake up to reality. I have to decide which bill to pay first, which expense I can defer, which meal I can skip so I can afford gas for the week. I've gotten good at pretending it's okay. That I'm okay. But it's exhausting, and it's hard not to feel like I'm failing. I've had to make so many compromises. Things I never thought I'd have to give up. Hobbies, nights out with friends, small luxuries that used to make life feel a little more bearable. It's been months since I've treated myself to anything. When was the last time I went to a movie? When was the last time I bought something just because I wanted it? Those little things that used to make me feel like I had a sense of freedom are the first things to go when the numbers on the bills don't add up. The worst part is, I'm so used to it now. I've internalized this scarcity to the point where I don't even question it anymore. It's just part of life. Some days, I feel like a failure. I watch people my age moving forward in their lives, getting married, buying homes, having kids, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. It feels like everyone else has it figured out, while I'm just stuck here, treading water. I try not to let it get to me, but sometimes it's hard not to. Everyone tells me it's going to get better, that this is just a phase. But it's hard to believe them when the numbers don't add up, and the bills keep coming, and the world around me gets more expensive every single day. I don't know what the future holds. I'm not sure what it'll look like. I can't imagine a future where I'm not constantly battling this weight, constantly fighting to stay afloat. Sometimes I feel like I put my dreams on hold forever. The dream of starting my own business, of traveling, of making a career I'm proud of, it feels so far out of reach, it's almost laughable. And yet, I still hold on to the smallest hope that it could be different one day. Maybe there's a way out of this, maybe I can find a way to make things work. Maybe, somehow, I'll find a way to balance everything without feeling like I'm constantly one missed payment away from disaster. But today, like every day, I have to face the reality that I don't have all the answers. I have to face the anxiety that comes with knowing that, no matter how hard I try, the cost of living is going to keep rising, and I'll keep treading water. And maybe that's all I can do right now, just keep going. Keep doing my best, even when it feels like it's not enough. So I take a deep breath, shove the worries to the back of my mind for just a moment, and I step out the door. Another day. Another set of challenges. Another day of doing what I can to survive. But maybe, one day, I'll find a way to break free. Maybe. But for now, I just have to keep swimming. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.